Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show, and we are Samadi, Chairman of Urology and Chief of Robotic Surgery at Lenox Hill Hospital. You watch him on the Fox News Channel on Sunday mornings at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. House calls. Hello, Doc. How are you?
How are you, Steve?
I'm doing well, and you know, I don't like to tempt fate or anything, and I'm not trying to tempt fate because it's still flu season, but as usual, I did not get my flu shot. And there are two kind of stories on the flu. First of all, we started out hearing earlier this year that the flu season was abnormally bad and going to be abnormally bad, but the CDC has said just recently that the flu season is milder than last year.
Well, this is what's interesting. Yes, compared to last year, it seems to be milder, and we're getting toward the end of the season. Steve, you know, somewhere around like March or April is going to be the end of flu season. What they're finding out is that, you know, the kind of strain that's really becoming active is the one that's H1N1. You remember from 2009?
Yeah.
There was a major epidemic at that time. Thousands of people got affected by this. And, you know, the problem with some of this flu vaccination is that they plan it a year ahead, thinking that there's going to be a certain number of strains. And by around now, we figure out that maybe it wasn't those strains, it's something else. H1N1 is up on the rise. CDC just put a lot of information on their website. Now, it's not affecting all of us, and that's the important part. California is big. Maryland and Virginia are big pockets of this H1N1 for some reason. And part of it is because these vaccines are not 100%. It only works about 50% of the time. But also the big news here is that the older population and the younger population that we were always worried about, number of flu and
why is that, Doc? Why do you think that is?
I think that group, you including one of them, maybe didn't get the vaccination. Maybe they're not washing their hands. Maybe they're really traveling all over the world.
I do wash my hands, I'll tell you that.
I thought so. I thought so. But look, we're also, you know, it's a global travel, commutes. People at this point, as a doctor, I will tell you that I don't know if we should have a mass vaccination of the whole country. But in those pockets and areas where there's a big concern, I think vaccination still helps.
Yeah, but you said that the vaccine is 60% effective. Is that
not so good?
Is that average for a flu vaccine, or is that particularly low this year?
No, it's about average, and I think that will also be a good call for a universal vaccine that would be over 90% effective.
Well, why can't they make it 90% effective now?
Well, you know something, they need better scientists and better doctors to invest, you know, their scientific background, because, you know, using eggs and using the old technology, it's just not working out well. So I think that would be a great project for a lot of doctors out there to get to work.
All right, let me ask you this now. I mean, I don't know if I should be surprised by this or not, but there's a study that suggests that obese women get just 1 hour of vigorous exercise a year, and obese men don't do much better. They get fewer than 4 hours a year. Now, a lot of people, you know, we look at that are overweight or obese, and you never know by looking at somebody if it's a glandular, if it's their fault or not their fault, quote unquote, if they're eating too much or if they have to because they can't, whatever. But if they're not getting any exercise, I mean, 1 hour or 4 hours a year, that's zilch. Then that's got to contribute to being their fault, right?
Well, it's a tough question, and I'm not sure, you know, we can go about this in many different ways. The question is obesity a disease, or is it man-made kind of a problem? And you can argue about this. Now, there are conditions such as hypothyroid, where it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to gain weight because your thyroid is not working. Depression can do it. A lot of other diseases can lead to obesity, but the type that you're talking about, which leads to type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure, cardiac disease, this is a man-made kind of obesity. It's the Western diet, rich countries, plenty of food out there, and when the food is cheap and maybe contaminated, and I said it the other day, when you have all these high high fructose corn syrup in our food and everything else, you take a lot of it without exercise, that's what we have. We're seeing patients coming in 300, 500 pounds. I mean, that's not normal. So that has to do a lot with what's going on in our food, the agriculture, the type of food that we eat, and the amount of food that we eat.
Yeah.
So 1 hour a year is not going to cut it. We need to make sure that we eat the right portion, the right food, and start exercising.
Now, let me ask you one quick question. I know I know you're not an endocrinologist, but if you have hypothyroidism and you get treated with the proper medication, Synthroid or whatever, that the weight gain should be under control, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, everything else goes back to normal.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right, Doc, we'll look forward to seeing you Sunday morning on Fox News Channel on House Calls, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. And as always, thank you and have a great weekend, my friend.
You too, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's Dr. David Samadi. He, of course, is the chairman of urology and chief of robotic surgery at Lenox Hill Hospital right here in New York City. Okay, we have another big hour coming up in the next hour. You are not going to want to miss it. I promise you that. And maybe we'll bring you also a little more information, although only one goal was scored, and the U.S. losing in the semifinal round to Canada. So the women lost in the finals yesterday to Canada, and the men lost to Canada today in the semis. Not good for the U.S. On the Steve Malzberg Show right here on Newsmax Television.